Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Planners Knowledge Vodcast. I am your host, Dr. Kathleen Walls, and here at Planners Knowledge, I interview authors of all types from all different genres so that we can learn about their author's journey. So if you are new to any of my vodcasts, I always encourage people get your pen and your paper ready because you are going to hear something that is going to have a positive impact on your life. So I am super excited to introduce my guest for this evening. I had the pleasure of meeting her a few weeks ago at a book fair in Plymouth Meeting Mall. This is Dr. Avis McGhee. How are you doing this evening, Dr. McGhee?
I am well. I am well. Thank you for asking. Thank you for inviting me on. And I pray your day was great as well.
Mm-hmm. All
Yes.
right. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, we know my name is Dr. Avis McGhee. I am a mother of two. I'm a grandmother of three living grandchildren, one deceased. I have probably about 14 or 15 great grands. I've kind of lost count. And
Wow.
one on the way. Love them to life. So excited. I'm a big family person. Like to do things, like to go out and do things with family, like to travel with family. I was in the behavioral health field, for over 30 years. I worked as
Hmm.
a drug and alcohol counselor. The first year I moved up to be a director, and I've been a director ever since. So I really
Wow.
moved up the chain really fast. And I
Okay.
retired from that in 2019, December. Well, really, they laid me off, the best thing that could have happened. And I've
Hmm.
been semi retired since then. Uh,
Okay.
Along the way, I had some bumps and bruises, and that what brings us to the point of my book. But I
Hmm.
went back to school. I earned some degrees, mentored some people, changed a couple different jobs, but always human service. My job is
Hmm.
always to work with the people because I wanted to help people and to do better.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's talk about this book piece. So you went from that to where did this author piece come from?
Well, when I was growing up, of course, kids have their own little thing they go through, not all good, not all bad, so
Hmm.
there were some things along the way when you're a teen that you want to test your feet at and do some things. And that might be what your parents want you to do. So
Hmm.
along the way, I was kept hearing, you're nothing but a bad seed. And that's not what I wanted. I love school. I wanted to finish school, but I got pregnant and I dropped out of
Hmm.
school because back when I had children, they weren't going to school pregnant. I don't
Okay.
want to tell my age, but I'm willing to. So I dropped out of school and I really did not like it. So I wanted to go back to school and finish my education. But along the way, I had a daughter, then got married. That didn't work. And then I had my son. And you just keep hearing you're a bad seed. I said, I'm gonna write about this one day. I'm gonna
Hmm.
write about my story one day. And that's where it started from
Hmm.
the negative. And I was determined to beat the statistics. I was not going to be the bad seed. So that's
Hmm.
how my writing journey started.
Well, here's the thing. If you would like to share your age, please do so, because we never know who we're going to inspire. And sometimes people, and I know you've heard this in the work that you do and just in life, sometimes people, when they get to a certain point in their life, that they can't still do some things. And so I'm always here to tell people you can keep doing until you on your very last breath, so there's no age limit to accomplishing goals.
It really isn't. And I'm very proud of my age because I'm 68. I'll be 69 in
Mhm.
March. And I was in my 50s when I got my doctoral degree. So
Come
there's
on.
nothing you can't accomplish.
That's right. That's
Nothing at
right.
all. And
That's
it
right.
was just a number. And I have this one book and I'm moving along to do another book and I'm still working and being available. I'm still thriving, thank God. So as long as I'm
Hmm.
thriving and moving, I plan on continuing doing what I can do. So
Yes.
68. And I think for 68, I look pretty good, if I might say so
I
myself.
got ready to say, no, we're not gonna say you look good, 68 and looking great. That's what we're
Thank
gonna
you.
do. We're gonna rhyme it out. So I,
Thank you.
I knew when I met you, I said, oh my goodness, I have to have her on the show because I just felt as though you would be so inspiring and encouraging to the listening audience. And then when you started telling me about your book, I said, oh, this is such an important topic. So let's tell the people about the book.
Okay. My book is titled The Bad Seed Produces Good Fruit.
Hmm.
And I wrote this book because I wanted to encourage other people. I wanted people to be able to read my story and know that there's still hope. I got into about a 7-year drug and alcohol addiction.
Hmm.
And when you're in a drug addiction, you do some things that you're not supposed to do, and the life is not pretty. So
Hmm.
during my addiction, I went through some things, and I was like, even though I went through my addiction, there still is hope on the other end. So let me talk about my story to inspire other people, to let them know, even though you into a drug and alcohol addiction, even though you had failed marriages, even though you've done some things that didn't want to do, but because of your drug addiction, you did it, there's still hope, and that you still can do what you set your mind out to do. And I
Hmm.
am so pleased and so glad to announce that I celebrated 39 years of sobriety in September.
Oh, come on now.
Yes. So, uninterrupted clean time. I didn't go into treatment and come back out and go into treatment. It's 39 years continuous. I have not used a drug, drink,
Congratulations.
alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yes.
So I talk about my drug addiction in my book, and
Mm-hmm.
I talk about the things that I went through in my book, and
Mm-hmm.
I go through the stages of what I went through in my book. And in the end, the whole purpose is to encourage other people that there is still hope, that you still can be productive, and you don't have to stick with those stigmas.
Come on. Come on. Well, let me hear. Robin McGhee says, congratulations.
Amen. My little sister.
Hello, little sister. Leslie Young says, thank you for reminding us that reinventing ourselves doesn't have an age limit.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
Look at
Hmm.
you. You getting the people already. We only 8 minutes in.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Benita Dobbs says,
Benedetta,
congratulations.
my
Say it
daughter.
again.
Vendetta.
Vendetta. Oh, your daughter. Hello, daughter. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So,
Fantastic.
when you set out to write a book, it started some years ago. But you
Yeah.
start it and you get started and you put it down, you get sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that my story wasn't even supposed to be told until now. Anyway,
Really? Well,
yes.
let's back up a little bit.
Hmm.
So, when did it you had said, when you were younger, one day I'm gonna write this book. When
Hmm.
that thought came, do you remember the time from when that thought came to when you actually started doing pen to paper or typing this out?
Well, I started pen to paper after I got out of the rehab. I went through the whole process of detox. I went through a 6 week program in Pottstown, and from there
Mhm.
they suggested that I go into long term treatment. This is how long ago it was. I was in treatment for almost a year. That's unheard of today.
Yes, it sure
That
is.
whole- yes, that whole year gave me my foundation, and I'm glad that I
Mhm.
was able to get clean when I could, because I had a firm foundation when I came out. So after I
Mhm.
came out of treatment and I got clean at 85, so around 87, I
Mhm.
started writing. And if I look around, I could still find that notebook I started writing in. Then I started
Mhm.
writing on paper, and that was 1987. And I didn't pick that back up to about maybe 3 years ago. And it still took me to last year to finish it and to publish it.
All right. So I just want to pause with that for just a moment. Frank said, you are inspiring me. So,
Amen.
all right. All right, people. So I know a lot of people who have an idea about writing a book may start the process and then stop and then feel as though, right, well, I haven't done it, so I'm gonna just leave it alone, or I'm gonna put this book over to the side, or that was a crazy thought. What was it that you it stayed, was it a seed that was planted in you back in 97 or 87 and it continued to be a slow grow over the years? Did you ever let it go and say, no, I'm not going to do it?
Never let it go. Never
Hmm.
let it go. Every now and then I would pick it up. I would write in that notebook,
Okay.
or I would write on paper. Back then, electronics weren't real accessible as they are today.
Yes, yes.
That note, that one notebook, and go ahead and write in that notebook.
Hmm.
And for a while, I had put it down. I mean, for a long time. And I'm like, you got to get this book finished. You got to get this book finished.
Hmm.
And I, kept thinking about it and kept picking it up, putting it down. But
Yes.
then we were in church, and someone said, "There's people in here supposed to be writing a book, and it should be done by next year." So I heard, I'm like, "Okay, I hear you. I
They
need to
done
get
called you out.
yes, I need to get this book done." So this
Yes.
was I published last year in July, so it was like a year and a half before that, and it was supposed to be done the new year, I believe, of 2023. That was
Hmm.
the time frame that was given. So I started a little support group. There was about 5 or 6 other people in my church that wanted to write a book as well, that were in that session, in that service. And we
Oh,
started,
when that
yes,
proclamation was given. Okay. Okay.
proclamation was given. So I started a little support group, and every day I would send out some encouraging words for authors.
Mhm.
I would look up inspiring quotes or whatever,
Mhm.
just to kind of motivate us to do what we needed to do. So I did
Mhm.
that, and I was supposed to get finished, and of course I got sidetracked again. And
Mhm.
but when I started with the support group, the more I supported them, the more I wrote. I said, okay, by such and such
Look at
time,
that.
we're going to have this done, and by such and such time, we want to have this done. So that's what I did. I started just giving out words of encouragement, sending out the support group. People were sending things back. Oh, this is very helpful, So we were kind of
Mhm.
supporting each other. So that's how I finally
Mhm.
finished my book in 2023, through just
Okay.
consistency, through the support group, through me. Every time I had to send a text, I couldn't send a text if I hadn't done nothing, right? You can't
That
send
accountability, right?
be accountable. You got
Come
to be
on.
accountable. So I'm like, you
Yes.
send me a text, what have you done? So
Mhm.
I said, I'm going to write. I started out writing, saying I'm going to write once a week. And I said, no, that's not getting it. Once a week is not getting it. I said, you're going to pick up that pad and that paper. Well, at this time now I've converted it over to the computer, which is a lovely
Mhm.
thing, because those pages that I had written in, them sheets I had written on, I was
Yes.
able to scan them into the computer, and I didn't have to retype a lot of that stuff. Thank God.
Oh, look at that.
That saved me a whole lot of putting those papers
Mhm.
through the machine. So now I'm on my typewriter, and I said, every day you're going to sit down and you're going to do at least 5 minutes. So, when you get busy on that 5 minute turns into 10, 10 turns
Yep.
into 15. And I was consistent. I said, I'm going to get this book done this year, because I had already passed the January mark, and it was
Mhm.
already now approaching June, May, June. I said, oh no, I have to get this done. So that was my approach, just to sit down, take 5 minutes a day, and to just type and just to write, so that I could get that book finished. So it took
Mhm.
consistency. It took consistency. It took me being accountable. If I'm going to hold other people accountable, I had to be accountable.
That's right. So I hope people who are listening, for those who are new to any of my shows, first and foremost, welcome and thank you for joining us. You are listening to Dr. Avis McGhee and her author's journey here, which is truly inspiring and encouraging. I encourage you to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on Ask Dr. Walls 525 and to get your pen and paper out because she is dropping a whole lot of valuable inspiration and information. For those who are interested in writing a book, you may have been called out like she was called out and convicted in that moment.
Yes.
Just this conversation alone might be stirring something up inside of you. And that consistency is key. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure you get that down. Consistency is key. Accountability is key. Sometimes we have to get accountability partner. You got a whole group to
Yeah,
support you and lift you up and keep you from being a hypocrite.
that's right.
So, right?
Yes, definitely.
And so that is so important. And then also the fact that when a seed is planted, and anybody who's done any type of planting with seeds, they grow at different rates. All
Mm.
right. And just because you don't see the fruit of your labor immediately does not mean that it is not growing. Because over those years, over those 30 years, you were collecting more and more information that needed to be put in that book.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I said I don't think it was meant for me to publish when I was trying to publish. However,
Mhm.
when it became time to do it.
Yes.
And like you
Yes.
said, more was added, more was revealed,
Mhm.
more that needed to
Mhm.
be in the book.
Yes. So now how did you know when it was finished? What was that feeling, that message that it's time for me to wrap up and put this out?
Good question. I think what happened is I was writing. I got to a point, I said, I don't want this book to be a big book because
Mhm.
people get bored quick. And
Mhm.
if people are like me, if a book doesn't catch my attention in the first or second chapter, I'm not going to finish the book.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to take time writing this book and have all these chapters and nobody read it. So
Right.
when I got to the end, where I was like caught up into like the time, like say 2023,
Yes.
I had caught up to 20. I said it's like time to stop.
Oh, got you.
Like
Got
I've
you.
been through a lot. I'm stable. I'm steady. I
Mhm.
know how to handle these different things now. So let's end it with some of the good things that I have done over these years. So that's how I ended it with the good fruits that were produced. So at
Mhm.
that time, it was time to close it. It's not a big book. It's not a lot of pages. It's a from the reviews that I have gotten, it's very easy to read. People say when they pick it
Mhm.
up, they can't put it down until they finish it.
Mhm. Nice.
So I didn't want a big, thick book where nobody
Yes.
was going to read it. It was just going to sit and collect dust.
Yes. Yes. Well, do me a favor, hold up the book so people can see it.
All righty.
Okay, there we go. Yep, that's good right there. And where can people purchase this book?
They can get this book on Amazon.com.
Mhm.
Most definitely. And I have copies. And I also will be, I know I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit.
No, it's all right.
I will be selling my book. I have two different events coming up in the near future, and you
Okay.
can purchase them from one of the events.
And where are
So,
you going to be? You can put it down. All right, people, y'all had enough time to take a picture. So, where, where are you going to be?
all right. So on November the 16th, I'm going to be at the Ink and Inspiration Local Author Showcase at the Upper Marion Township Building.
Okay.
And that's located at 175 West Valley Forge Road, King of Prussia, PA.
Mhm.
And that is from 3 to 5 on November the 16th.
Okay, so that's this Saturday
This Saturday coming up. Yes.
from
And I will
3
be
p.m.
there.
to 5 p.m. All
Right.
right.
And we'll have books available on site. My books on Amazon. Okay, Frank. My
Frank said
books
he's
on
going to be there.
Amazon. My books on Amazon are $11.99. but at the Upper Marion Township building, you'll be able to get the book for $10. So you will
All
get
right now.
So come out and get a discount. But if you can't come out, run over to Amazon
Mm-hmm.
to get that. And on the 30th, how ironic, I'm going to be at the Boozy Book Fest.
Uh-oh.
How ironic, at the Five Saints Distillery.
Oh, really?
From 2 to 5. I'm involved with the group, the Norristown Norton Authors Alliance, and they are hosting this event. And I will be there selling my book. And I said, it's a nice place to go. I said, maybe somebody will get my book that there and drinking.
Yes.
It might inspire them to take a look at their drinking.
Ooh.
So that's one of the reasons why I said I would go, because I don't drink. I don't do a lot of things around drinking, but I think this will be a good place for me to be with my book, even just to even talk with people, to interact. You know, you never know who you might. If I didn't go to Plymouth Meeting, I would have never met you.
It's the fact. Yeah.
Right. It's not always about selling a book. It's about the connections and
sell them again.
The collaborations. So I said, the Boozy Book Fair. I hesitated at first. And I'm like, I have a message that I can tell the people that everybody's not an alcoholic. Everybody doesn't drink too much. But in case there's somebody there that this might inspire to take a look at it, I thought it was worth me being there. So that's September 30th. And that's at 129 East Main Street. And it's from 2 to 5.
2 to 5. You said November the 30th?
Yes.
So that's right after Thanksgiving. So everybody take your family with you and go over there and get yourself some books for people that you know, for yourself as well. All right. Leslie asked, do you have a website?
I don't have a website. I am on Facebook, Avis McGhee. I'm on Instagram at Big Avis 318. So my name is AVIS. So at Big Avis 318. I'm working on a website. I had one for my business with my t-shirts, but I don't have that anymore. I am also Instagram, Facebook. I don't really use TikTok that much, but I'm on there. So the best way to get me is either Facebook or Instagram.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, I can give you my email address as well.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, it's Arthur, like Arthur, Dr. Avis McGhee at Outlook.com. So AUTHOR, Dr. DRAVIS MCGHEE at Outlook.com.
All right, y'all. There you go. And I put it in the chat room also. Dr. Louise Wade says there may be someone there who knows someone or has a family member that is challenged by substance abuse who may benefit from your journey.
Yes, yes.
So fantastic. Let's see who we have here. Smichael and Hyde Family Adventures says, Dr. Avis, continue the great job.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Now we have Kelly Alexander says, greetings from, Kelly, I don't know how to say that. I know Mississippi. Gautier. I'm not sure if I had to get a Creole accent in my speech.
And believe it or not, I lived in Mississippi for a little while.
Oh, really?
A short while, yes. I lived in Mississippi.
All right. And then your daughter says she did an amazing job with telling her story and not telling others that was involved in her story. That is a huge compliment. How did you navigate that? Because I know that is hard for people to do that storytelling, but basically stay in their lane without telling other people's business. Oh, excuse me. Everybody's telling me it's Gaucher. I should know that. I knew somebody named Gaucher. I guess I never knew it. That's how they spelled it. Thank you both.
At one point, I had started to tell the whole story about the other person. I said, And believe it or not, the Holy Spirit said, no, this is your story. And at one point, even when I was writing the book and I was writing some things, because you can write some things about the person without telling the whole story, I had to say, I believe I even put it in the book. I said, well, that's enough of that because this is my story. And I stopped myself because
Okay.
I wanted to tell about my story and my adventures. And there's always
Yeah.
two sides to every story, you know, so I could say one thing, they could say another. So I didn't want to get into that back and forth. I wanted to
Yeah.
tell my side of the story
Yes.
because that was hard not to do, to get in and talk about the other person or the other
Mhm.
event, but you have to
Mhm.
rein yourself back in.
Yep.
And that's what I
Yep.
did. I reined myself back in and remembered the purpose of the book was for me and my adventures and to help other people, not to get into, well, he said this and she said that. No, that was not the purpose of the book.
Mhm. Very good. Very good. And I think that again, I think it's important for people who are looking to write these types of books, memoirs and so
Mhm.
forth, because it is, right? It is your story. It's not necessarily, unless that's your thing, to put somebody else on blast.
Right.
It is for you. And you were clear about what your direction was in the writing of this particular book.
Yes, and that's one thing you have to be clear too when you're writing a book. What do you want to do? Who do you want it to reach? You know, there's some questions that you should ask yourself. What is the
Mhm.
purpose? Is this to get even? Is this to really tell the story? Is this to help somebody, especially when you're doing a memoir? And my story was to help other people on the way that are still struggling or have struggled with addiction, not only with addiction, life in general, because
Mhm.
I had two marriages that failed, you know, and that's a hard piece right there, you know. And other
Mhm.
people might feel like, oh, I've never amount to nothing. I don't have a man or a mate, but no, that's not true. You can go on and do what you need to do, you know. So
Mhm.
there's some things that happened. My 28-year-old grandson, who I practically raised, passed away of a stroke, you know.
Mm.
But by any means necessary, when you're recovering, you don't pick up, you don't use, you don't drink, you use coping skills and you
Mhm.
get through that event. You know, you don't turn back because when you're drinking and drugging, you don't feel too much of anything. You
Right.
know, what you're thinking
Right.
about is that next high or that next hit. And I'm well
Mhm.
beyond that now. But in the beginning, it's definitely a struggle to say, hey, I'm not going to use today when something happens. I'm going to do the right thing and get some support. And I
Yes.
have through that process. And I believe that if you really want to get clean,
Mhm.
you go through things. You know, my mom died, my dad died, my stepfather died. I didn't use through any of those events, you know,
Mhm.
and people that have even issues with mental health have relapses when those things happen
Mhm.
because they're traumatic.
Mhm.
And if you don't learn how to deal with traumatic events in your life, you'll go back to what you know and to what is comfortable.
Yes.
There's some people that in their drug addiction don't want to quit. You have to want to
Yeah.
quit. And I wanted
Yeah.
to do better. I did not want
Mhm.
to lose. I did not want to live that lifestyle. And I wanted to quit. And I had a made up mind. So I did things differently. And I got the help that I needed. And did what I needed to do.
Mhm.
And still
Mhm.
today, you know, still
Kel
today.
Kelly is clapping her hands as
Thank
she
you.
is listening. So now tell us this. When you were writing the book, were there parts that you chose to leave out? And if so, how come?
There were a couple parts that I left out because I knew that they would hurt the person. The people would be able to figure out who it was.
Okay.
And I did not, the purpose was not to hurt them. The purpose was to get my story out. So there was some things I left out of the book that I really don't think it made a difference in the book. Because
Mhm.
even when I was writing the book, at one point something came up and reminded me of something that happened to me. And I put that in the book.
Okay.
And I put that in the book, and I'll tell you what it was because I think it's very important, especially if we have some people on here that have ever experienced it. Is when I was in the drum and bugle corps, and that was a
Mhm.
group in the Norristown area, and we should go and compete. You know, if you ever see the high school bands or the alumni, that's a drum and bugle corps. Well, not a drum and
Mhm.
bugle, it's like that. And I played the big bass drum. I also did the flags and the rifle, so I was kind of versatile because I could
Okay.
do different things in the drum and bugle corps. And we used to go on the road a lot, so we were ever hardly home because we were in competitions. And
Mhm.
there was a man there that was sexually assaulting me.
Oh
And I
no.
was too afraid to say anything. And when I was
Mm.
writing this book, it came up.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder how many other young girls
Mm-hmm.
he assaulted with me, because he worked with the team that had girls on it.
Uh,
And when you come to these competitions, there's nothing but young girls and young boys.
mm-hmm.
So he assaulted me, but how many other young people got assaulted
Yes.
at the time that they didn't talk about? And that traumatic event probably played a big part in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that in the book. I
Okay.
thought that was important, because you can overcome trauma, but you have to get some help. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes you could do it on your own, but there's nothing wrong with going to see a psychologist, a psychiatrist,
Mm-hmm.
a counselor, getting a mentor. There's nothing wrong with getting help, so that you don't stay stuck in that situation, because trauma is real, and trauma will
Yes.
keep you stuck. And
Yes.
trauma will have you doing things that you do not want to do. So you have to deal with that trauma. That's one reason
Yeah.
why I was using drugs and alcohol at a lot of traumatic events that I did not deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
kind of know it at first, but then after a while, it's like, hey, this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
What's going
Yeah.
on? And
Yeah.
that's the time when you can get help, when you realize it's time to do something different. But I
Yes.
didn't leave a lot out of the book. Um, just a few things.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I guess my daughter's on here. I don't know if my son is on here. I guess they could tell me better, because they both read the book, if they
Mm-hmm.
left anything out. But I think I did a good job of telling the story and
Okay.
being tactful, being respectful, and
Mm-hmm.
it being my story,
Yes. Speaking your truth.
speaking my
And
truth.
did you notice anything? So every author's journey obviously is different, and I know my listeners are like, "Wow, this is a unique story. We haven't heard this story yet before on the show." So I thank you very much for your honesty and your candor tonight. Willie Sawyer said, "Mom, you did a great job."
Amen.
So, so as far as during the writing process and different things coming up, did you find it cathartic? Was there an additional healing or layers of healing that you would say took place for you during the writing?
Yes, most definitely. Because when you go through some things, you're like, I'm the only one going through this. Why me? Why not? But then you find out other people have gone through this thing and they have made it. And at different
Mhm.
points, I've seen different things happening that kind of validated what I was saying, but also, I don't want to say the word revenge, but I had to get out the way, and people
Mhm.
got their just due, and I had nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Way before the
Mhm.
book came out. So, not that I wanted to get revenge, but when you get hurt enough, you want some kind of justice. That's the
Yes.
word, for
Yes.
the injustices that you were served. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
so it definitely was a healing process when I did it. And like I said, I definitely wanted to make sure that I was telling my truth and being honest as I could be.
Mhm.
So it definitely was at one point, um, in the healing process, I was going to say something, but it left me, but it will come back. There
Mhm.
was one part that really made me feel the healing process.
Mhm.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
That's
A
all
little
right. It's all good. So I think it's, say it again.
I said a little whiteout, not a blackout anymore. A
Look,
little
that's right. Well, let me put up here. Your daughter said, "No, you told the story and your truth, and will show persons that there is nothing that you cannot accomplish, no matter where you find yourself."
amen.
And yes, and Ricky Brown said, "Amen." So look, we having a whole chorus right now.
Yes.
So now, so you wrote the story. You felt some healing as you were going through it. Feedback that you have received from the book when you finally, well, before I ask you about feedback, when you finally released it, do you recall that feeling that it's out there now?
Yes. I definitely, when my publisher, I had somebody help me with this because I'm new to the game. So I didn't know what I was doing. Somebody recommended some people. So the guy that I used, I really felt like this book was going to do what it was going to do, because when I sent the book off to him in July, and when he was back and forth, you know how it goes back and forth to editing, he stopped editing, and I wrote this down because I thought this was important. I went back in my notes. My book went to the publisher, well, to like in June, and on 7/12, he sent this to me. So I would like to read it to you. He says,
Please.
I'm on chapter 8, and let me see how many chapters are in my book, because they're very short chapters. I think I have 16 chapters.
Okay.
And he said, I am on chapter 8. Let me take a moment and congratulate you on such a journey of overcoming. Awesome testimony. So that was chapter 8. Like, okay, if this, the author, he's sending this, the book is doing. So I really felt a set, and I don't know this person from a can of paint.
Wow.
He didn't know my story.
Yes.
That's what made it more like rewarding to say, hey, it's doing what it needs to do. And I can, get through this. But, when you're publishing, some things you say, and it's like, it's a little scary. Because if you're telling your truth and you're telling it all, everything is not for everybody, but some things you tell makes you look bad. And some people don't know how to separate, what happened back then and what's happening now. That was during my drug addiction, but me today, I'm an entirely different person.
Yeah.
So that definitely was kind of scary during the process.
So let's talk about that publishing process. So as you mentioned, you're new to the game. This is your first book. And so now it's complete. Did you go traditional publisher and publishing house, or did you choose to do self-publishing?
Self-publishing. I just had somebody help me because I'm still learning the Amazon process with putting the book in and formatting. I listened to somebody said the formatting part is very hard, but I'm getting ready to tackle that. That's my next thing I'm going to tackle, because I'm working on my second book and third book. So I'm going to tackle that myself. But it was worth it to get it done and to get it out, because I was so far behind. So it's good to get that guidance. It's good to let somebody else do it, that I didn't have that, because after I had finished writing the book, I had a couple months where it was just sitting around doing nothing. And I had to keep being reminded, hey, the book is done. What are you going to do with it now? So rather than sit on it, I started looking around to see who could help me. I looked at publishing companies, and when you look at publishing companies, they have to accept your book. They'll reject it. That could take a whole long process. So the self-publishing was best for me, because I sent it in June, and in July, the 23rd, the book was published. And August 10th, I had the book in my hand.
Yes.
That book in my hand, I was like, it's done. I did it. Yes. It was such a sense of accomplishment. It was finally done after all of these years of putting it on. And I remember when the box came, and the Amazon box came, and I was like, oh my God, that's my book. My book is here. Oh, it was just wonderful. And when my book had published, I did a pre-sale on Facebook.
Okay.
I put it out there, the book isn't here yet, but it's going to be released soon. And I, so let's do a little pre-sale, see how it goes. So that helped as well. But that book in hand, once you get that tangible book in your hand, what a sense of accomplishment.
Yes. What a feeling. Oh, what a feeling. So I'll take a moment and shout out a good friend to the family and to the show, April, and her husband puts up here, wow, do what you do. Very inspiring.
Amen.
Yes. Yes. So, all right. So you chose to go as a self-publisher, and Kelly Alexander had asked, what's the difference to going with self-publishing? And you answered some of it versus, going the traditional route, where normally you have to get a literary agent. That person then has to shop it to their publishing house. The publishing house then determines whether or not this book is something that falls in alignment with what they're looking for, their genre, categories, so forth. versus the self-publishing, you do everything yourself,
Hmm.
and you can, you put it out when you want to put it out and so forth. And Amazon KDP does have about a 72-hour window where they assess your book to make sure it's formatted correctly. And if
Yes.
there's any problems with the formatting, they will communicate with you and tell you how to make the necessary, what adjustments need to be made, what corrections need to be made, and then you can make them and resubmit.
Right.
So
And
she
from
said,
what
thank
I
you, by the
understand,
way.
yeah, and from what I understand, traditional publishing, you don't really put no money out in front. They pay you, but with being an independent publisher, you have to put the money out because you have to
Yes.
buy if you want your own ISBN. That's a whole nother story. You got to pay for
Mm-hmm.
uh, your illustration, your cover
Yes.
design. Then you
Yes.
got to pay for just about everything. So you have
Yeah.
to find someone that it doesn't break your pocketbook when you do self-publishing.
That's right. And now, how did you choose? Show them the cover again. So we want people to be sure to recognize it when they run over to Amazon or when they come out to visit you on November 16th and November 30th, that they
Hmm.
recognize you and your book. And how much is your book retailing for online versus if they come see you in person?
11.99, and if they see me in person, it will be $10.
All right. So, all right, good. Take y'all picture, y'all, so y'all know yeah, they got it. They got it. So now how did you end up doing the cover?
Well, the person that helped me did my cover, but when I sent it over to him, I had a design. I had two designs. One, I had a picture of a seed that was rotten and then some
Mm,
plants around it. But then I had a
mhm,
picture of a tree and I had the fruits of the spirit on the tree. So he
okay.
took the combination of the two, and this is what he came up with. And when I sent it over to my family and I looked at it, I liked it. They loved it. So I went with this. We like
Mhm.
the colors of it. If you look, there's different fruits on the tree. So I thought that was unique and it stands out.
Yes, it does.
So that's why I went with his design, and I'm glad that was part of his price. But you pay for the illustration separately,
Mhm.
you pay for the proofing separately,
Mhm.
so all of that costs when you're an independent author.
Yes. Yes. Now, as far as the title, did you just lock in on it? Did you know what it was going to be and not ever waver, or did you have some questions about what you were going to call the book?
The title was locked in before I got the book because I was told that I was a bad seed and that I
Mhm.
would never amount to anything.
Mhm.
And finally, it came to me. I said, "Oh, the bad seed will produce good fruit." So I put the bad
Mhm.
seed because now it produces good fruit because it did
Yes.
produce. So the title has never wavered. As a matter of fact, the person helping me tried to change the title, and I'm like, I had to send it back. I said, "That's not the title of my book." He
Mhm.
said, "Oh, give me suggestions." I said, "Not up for negotiation. That's the title of my book. I've had that in my head ever since I started this process." So
Mhm.
never wavered on the title.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because it is it's so important that, and that I will also say this, that is one of the differences with traditional, going through a traditional publishing house versus you doing it yourself. You do have final say
Yeah,
over everything in the book. I
yeah.
remember when I wrote my first book, there was a colloquialism that was used, and the editor who lived in Florida, we had never physically met, we just exchanged emails. And she was saying that she didn't understand the phrasing of this because she did content editing and context editing. And sometimes people will only do one and not the other.
Right.
And so, because this was the way I spoke, this was the way people in Philadelphia spoke, I hadn't thought beyond the 215, 267
Okay.
to think that someone else in another part of this country might not understand that phrasing. And
Hmm.
so it becomes important when you are looking to reach a larger audience that you're taking those things into mind. Now, so she wanted to change it. I said, no, I don't want to change it. I want it to stay just the way it is. This is the way that I talk, and I want people to hear my voice when they read it.
Right.
And had I done a traditional publisher, I don't know if that would have been quote unquote allowed in order for the book to get out there. But because I did it myself, it was fine.
Right.
The other thing, as you mentioned with illustrations, is that sometimes when working with a traditional publisher, and I'm not knocking traditional publishing, I'm just explaining what the differences are. You sometimes they may like the book content and have their own illustrators that they want to choose from. And it's not about you particularly loving the illustrations, it's about them, the publishing house, saying these are the match that they prefer. And so, as a children's book author, with all of my illustrations, I remained independent publishing because I wanted to choose my own author, my own illustrators. Because
Right.
once they showed me their work, I fell in love with it. And I was like, I want y'all all the time. So these are points of consideration. So if you're working with a traditional publisher, you're thinking about it, you want to ask these questions so that you can determine whether or not it is the best choice for you.
Right.
Dr.
Yeah.
McGhee, what's going through your mind? Other thoughts or comments?
Um, Not really. Just that I believe that my book is doing what it says it would do.
Yeah.
I recently, getting ready for this interview, went on Amazon. 6 reviews on there. I'm not mad. One of the things I would ask, if anybody's on the line that has read my book and hasn't given me an Amazon review, please give me an Amazon review and then go over to Goodreads and give me a review as well. But people
Hmm.
gave me reviews on Facebook when I did the pre-launch, and they brought the book through that. And the
Okay.
reviews all kind of say what I intended for the book to be, is what I'm trying to get
Excellent.
my words around. You
Yes.
know, one is the common consistent thing that I get is once I pick the book up, I can't put it down till I'm finished. So you could read the book in one setting. This last review that was on there, the last 2 reviews, I don't know these people, so that makes
Mhm.
it all the more kind of like, hey, okay, it's really doing what it needs to do because these people don't know me and I don't know them. And
Mhm.
once I start reading, I can't put it down. And it's
Yes.
really encouraging, that it gives people hope. And that's what I wanted the book to do. I wanted
Fantastic.
people to know that they can be encouraged, they can do what they need to do. There is still hope. And
Mhm.
used, I probably have between Facebook and the 6, probably about 15 reviews. So
Okay.
to me that's good. I'm a first
It
time
is good. That's
and
right.
I have sold some books and I've gotten some reviews. So if you have read the book and you haven't given me a review on Amazon, I would appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. So please buy the book. Make sure you put reviews up there. Anybody who you buy the book for gifts, make sure they put reviews up there as well. As independent authors, it helps with the ranking on
Mm-hmm.
the different systems on Amazon, Goodreads, and so forth. And that is very important. You talked about ISBN and even did you buy the barcode as
I,
well?
I didn't. I don't know if I brought my barcode. I said I'm gonna have to get in. I'm gonna have to look it up because if you don't
Okay.
have the barcode, I know you can only use it on Amazon to sell in retail. So I kind of found this out through my own research afterwards. But when you rush
Yes.
to put something out, you don't know these things. But now because I'm getting ready to do another book, I have done some
Yes.
research, so I have to check my ISBN and see if he paid for it, or just use the free one off of Amazon.
Got you. So
Right.
yeah, so that's what leads me to my next question for you. So you have mentioned another book and another book.
Mm.
So when shall we expect these additional books from you? Do you have a date yet? And do you have content? What types of books are these coming?
Okay. I would like to be done by January, which is a real tight
Oh,
time schedule.
mhm.
I'm hoping I don't have to revise it, but I'm going to work real hard. The next book coming out will be a book, a workbook, and a journal. I was going to write one book about a mindset change. That was going to be the first one, but it's been laid on my heart to write about people suffering in silence. There's a lot of people suffering with mental health, and they're suffering in silence. And it's been laid upon my heart just to do that. When I was asked to speak at a big affair, well, it was big for me, 100 people. That's big for me. I'm getting there, but I haven't arrived yet. But 100
Got you.
a lot of people for me.
Come
So
on. That's
that,
a good number. That's
and
right.
what I spoke on, suffering in silence, and I've been hearing that. When something is, you got to do it. You keep hearing it. It keeps coming up.
Yep.
Keeps saying, "Okay, get it together." So it's going to be "Stop Suffering in Silence,"
Okay.
and the subtitle is going to be "Mental Health is Real."
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
your book, then I'm gonna give you a workbook to work with it and a journal. So I'm really trying to get out there and really try to help some people that might not ever elsewise be helped, or at least
Yeah,
plant a seed so that they know that they have to go and seek other type of
that's
help
right.
so that they can go on with their lives.
That's right. That's right. So I actually, for those who don't know, I named my publishing company and this uh, vodcast Planner's Knowledge
Mhm.
because for me, God is the planter and he plants knowledge in all of these books. This
Yeah.
is why, right? This is why I interview authors on this show because I believe that there are great seeds inside of all of these different books, and it's up to us to reap the harvest that's already been planted for
Mhm.
us. So I thank you so much for doing your part and planting the seed, nurturing the seed rather that was planted in you
Yes.
and continuing to nurture that seed for over 30 years to get to this point where not only you are reaping the benefits of the harvest, but all of those who are touched by this book and will reach people who you may not ever physically meet.
Right. Right. Yes.
Thank you.
Got to pay attention. Got to do what you were told to do. So, like I said, it's November. Might have to push that back a little bit because I haven't really started. I just got the bare bones of it, but my
Hmm.
goal is not to berlinger it and at least, continue writing and getting it done. So, if it's not January, definitely be done before June.
Fantastic. We have a beautiful message here. I don't want to mess up the first name. Uh, Jakina, is it? And please help me if I got it wrong. McNeil says Dr. Avis McGhee's book was very inspirational to me. I was motivated to go to counseling and address some of my past traumas. She's a great friend and mentor. I'm glad she's a part of my village of support. Thank you.
Hello.
The,
Yeah. And I met her through my book.
look
I
at
had
that.
people through my book that I now mentor and work with, and it's been a pleasure.
Hmm. Hmm. So, for people who are listening, if you are feeling that nudge, as Dr. McGhee said, when you're supposed to do something, you just keep hearing it over and over and over again. We are here with that megaphone and microphone to nudge you
Yes.
some
Yes.
more. Get it done. Get it done. And there is no I'm going to be careful when I say this. It is that there is no time limit in that you trust that process. Now, you don't belabor it, you don't procrastinate,
Mhm.
you keep working on it as you are so led to work on it. And as you heard in Dr. McGee's story, then you release it when it is to be released.
Yes.
And the other thing that happens with writing is sometimes you start writing something and that one goes on hold, and
Mhm.
then you're led to start writing something else, and that one may come out before the first one or the one that you deemed was going to come before it. And that's okay too.
Right. Because that's what happened. I've already started the first book, and I've got
Hmm.
it started, and I can probably pick it up off of these tables somewhere. But now I have to put that down and go to
Yes.
the the 3-part book, the workbook, and the journal.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, Jamila Butler says definitely needed this. Thank you so much for the motivation.
Thank you.
See, I knew it when I met you. I said, "Oh yeah, she's gonna come on here and start inspiring and helping people and changing lives." So we got to have her on sooner than later. So
Yes,
yeah,
definitely, definitely.
so
We can do anything we put our mind to. Anything.
that's right. That's right. All right. Remind people where they can see you this Saturday on November 16th, as well as where they can see you on Saturday, November 30th.
Okay. So the 16th is the Upper Marion Township Building, and that is 175 West Valley Forge Road, King of Prussia. And the event is called Ink and Inspiration, and it's from 3 to 5, November the 16th. And then on September 30th, the Boozy Book Fest. And they will have other vendors there as well. It's at the Five Saints Distillery. It's 129 East Main Street, and that will be from 2 to 5. And the person that's putting that on, or the group, is the Norristown Norton Authors Alliance, which I'm a part of. That's how I found out about it. And I just like to give them their shout out because they have been very helpful to me online, this to other people's pointers and helping. And so they've been a great help.
Good, good. So that's November 16th and November 30th. So these are all wonderful times. And you said that the book retails online for, was it 11.99?
9, but in
Okay.
person it's 10. And there is also an ebook. I think the ebook is $8.99.
Okay. All right. Show them the book one more time so that they recognize it along with you. We're going to pair y'all together. You see the book, you see her, you see her, you see the book.
That's it. That's my baby.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right. And I'm so glad that you said that because I say the same thing about my books. They're my book babies. There's
Yeah.
something about, right, nurturing them and then giving birth to them. And then, that process of releasing them to the world, each of them have their different stage. And then what you got to do once you release it, as you talked about marketing, you did pre-sales, and then now there's marketing and there's all these different book events. Uh,
Mhm.
be- Before we close, is there any additional information and or inspiration you would like to give the listening audience?
I would like to say that those that are writing or have something that they need to put to pen, to do it. But also, after you have published your book, don't get discouraged if you don't get a lot of support, because I didn't get a lot of support from the people that I thought, my family, my close friends, but people that I thought would give me the support didn't.
Mhm.
And that could be a turnoff. So just know that everybody's not going to support you for whatever the reasons might be. Doesn't even matter. But you do what you need to do, because I am out here now marketing, because after I had my book was out, I held a local, it was called, we did I have a, what do you call this thing, a bookmark. So I did my
Mhm.
first book signing on October the 24th, and I invited other local artists to come out for that event. And
Mhm.
it was a very well attended group, but you have to market yourself. If you
Yes.
don't have, a lot of money and stuff, you got to find ways to market. And any kind of a free event or a low cost event, I will be at to try to market. And sometimes it's not even about the selling of the book, because I sew a lot of my books as well. Because
Mhm.
if I see someone that needs it and that can benefit, I'm not going to ask them for no $10. I'm going to
Yeah.
sew them the book
Yeah.
and give
Yeah.
them the book, which I have done several times, because
Mhm.
it's just that important to help somebody.
Yes.
But don't be discouraged if people don't support you, but do what you were told to do. Put the pen or put your hands on the keyboards, however you
Come on.
write. Get the book done, get it done, get support. I have now another little support group that I have started. We have about 9 people in this support group. We're going to meet monthly. We send out, I just send out goals for the month. I send out a motivational quote every day. So find somebody that's going to support you, and don't worry about the ones that don't.
That's right. I love it. All right, y'all. You can follow her on Facebook. Tell them again how they can follow you.
Avis McGhee on Facebook. And on Instagram, it's Big Avis 318 at Big Avis 318.
And you can also reach out to her on email.
Email, yes, Arthur, AUTHOR, Dr. DRAVISMCGHEE at Outlook.com.
All right.
So Arthur Dr. Avis McGhee at Outlook.com.
Well, Dr. Avis McGhee, we thank you so much for taking your time with us this evening, sharing your story, sharing your author's journey, and those words of inspiration that are so, so true for any aspiring authors or anybody who you know is working to become an author. Please be sure to pass that information on to them. For
Yes.
those for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome to Planners Knowledge Podcast. For our return guests, hello, it's great to see you as always. And I want you to know, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button at Ask Dr. Walls 525. I have a power packed week of authors this week. I will be interviewing 7 authors in 5 days. All right. So tomorrow morning at 9
Wow.
a.m., I'll be talking with Ellie Beckenstow, Then tomorrow evening at 6 p.m., I'll be talking with children's author Krista Smith. On Wednesday, I'll be talking with historical novelist Sherry Ostroff.
Mm,
And then on Friday, I will be talking with Nicole Wolverton. Um, and I'm blanking on she does horror. That's what she does. So she does horror. So I have a lot of different genres coming up, different authors, and as you will hear, all of their authors' journeys are different. If you go on to my Ask Dr. Walls 525 page and you'll see the Planner's Knowledge playlist, you will see a list of other authors who I have already interviewed and so many other coming up. Oh, and I forgot Thursday night at 8 p.m. I'll be talking with Gil Rowland about his weight loss journey and
mm,
not just his physical weight, but the emotional
emotion.
weight, the energetic weight, the spiritual weight,
Mm,
all of that as well. So these are going to be some very powerful, informative, and prayerfully life changing for the better
yes.
interviews. Yes. And you can also check out my other playlists. I got a lot going on the Ask Dr. Walls 525 page.
Yes.
Everything is there to educate, entertain, motivate, empower, and inspire you. So until we meet again, I always say God bless and continue to live your greatest life. See you soon.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. You're welcome.